Hi, everybody. Welcome to Christian Homestead. My name is Jared. I came across something very important and very exciting. I'm so glad that I found this because, as always, when you have certain topics in the gospel where there aren't a lot of scriptures, there's not a lot of quotes, but we know that there's something there, usually that gives rise to debates and divisions and, people stick to their guns. And one of those things that we're going to touch on in this video are future temples in Missouri. I never knew that there really was a debate about a future temple at Adam-ondi-Ahman. And it wasn't until a few weeks ago that I even found out about the city of Seth. I've done a video about this. I found more information, which I'm about to share with you, including this right here. And I also have videos where you can see these different locations. We'll talk about that in just a minute. Okay, so I was preparing for another video, talking about something else. I was here on the University of Virginia's website for Mormon studies. This is the David O. McKay diary excerpts. When you come here, you can scroll down and there's these different topics that you can look at. We're under the section for Missouri. And believe me, this one is full of really good information and gems, including what I'm about to share with you. Now, even though it's David O. McKay's diary, you have things that are inserted in there from others, including his counselor in the first presidency, President Alvin R. Dyer. It's been a while since we've talked about him. He's the one that wrote Refiner's Fire because he was called to do a very special thing in Missouri. I'm not going to get into his whole history, but let me just point out something really interesting. He started out when it comes to being a general authority, he started out being assistant to the Quorum of the 12 Apostles right here. Later, he became an apostle, but not a member of the Quorum of the 12. He was an apostle outside the Quorum of the 12 and outside the first presidency for a time. And this had to do with what President David O. McKay wanted him to do with the lands in Missouri. Then he was brought in as a third counselor in the first presidency. There were three. That's why it just says counselor in the first presidency. And then after he was done, he went back to be assistant to the Quorum of the 12 Apostles. And then after that, he went into the first Quorum of the 70, but he was still an apostle. He still had that priesthood office. So a very unusual path. You don't see that in the church. I feel like that should tell you how special his mission was. So that's the context, and this is what we find for the entry on Monday, October 6th, 1969. Where were you at that time? Were you even alive? I wasn't. I was not yet born. Okay, Missouri lands. First meeting of Committee on. See President Dyer's minutes, which follow on the first meeting of the Missouri Lands Committee. This was a most important meeting attended by the following. And then I'm not going to read all these names, but you can pause and read that if you like. This committee was previously approved by the first presidency to serve under my direction in pursuing the matter of obtaining land in Missouri pursuant to the revelations. Think about this. This is another one of those strange debates. There are people that think that Missouri is no longer relevant. They especially point to Doctrine and Covenants 124, where the Lord temporarily excuses the saints from building New Jerusalem in Independence, Missouri. And so they go on thinking, well, that was a certain period of church history. Now we're excused from all that. The church has moved on. No. I have a timeline. I don't have it pulled up right now, but I have a timeline for how things have progressed in Missouri. And it really started taking off after the dedication of the Salt Lake Temple. I'm talking about like within a couple years, things started happening in Missouri, and people started coming back, and it's been slow, but there has been steady progress from that time. Now, it's kind of a tough project to tackle. It's going to take me time to put together this timeline, but it's very clear to me that there's all these things that have been going on that probably not a whole lot of people have known about, certainly not the mainstream of the church, but this is part of it. Okay, 1969, obtaining land in Missouri pursuant to the Revelations, because these lands are going to be needed in the future. Okay, continuing. All were present, and at the meeting I placed into their hands a digest of a number of revelations, with certain comments, which was titled, "If by purchase, behold, ye are blessed." I read to these brethren segments of the minutes of the meetings of the First Presidency, particularly the meetings held by President McKay, wherein he had given direction that such a committee be formed for the purpose intended. I explained to the brethren present that this work would need to go forward slowly, but yet methodically, to accomplish the purpose of obtaining properties in the Missouri area, centered around the 4 particular areas. 4. And the thing about it, up until just a few weeks ago, I thought that there were basically just 3 main areas, but there's 4. So look at this. 4 particular areas where land had been consecrated and dedicated for the building of temples and a city of Zion. This included the following locations. Number 1, Independence, Missouri, Jackson County. Everybody knows that one, right? And just so you know, I know you already know this, but there's always new people coming across my channel. I have a second channel called Explore Church Sites. Make sure to subscribe to that. I am finding a lot of stuff, and it's very interesting, and it's very fun. And if you can't come to Missouri, Iowa, Nebraska, Kansas, Illinois, you're going to want to watch these videos. You will feel the spirit, you will learn more about church history, and you will see these locations. So I have a video, actually I have a couple of videos for the temple lot. I'll put a link for this in the description box below. So that's the first of 4 locations. The second one, Far West, Missouri, Caldwell County. And of course I have a video of that as well. Actually have a couple. The third one, Adam-ondi-Ahman, Daviess County. Now, really quick, over this last week, I've made 2 trips to Adam-ondi-Ahman because it turns out that similar to the Missouri Mormon walking trail in Independence, where you have all these markers in the sidewalks, Adam-ondi-Ahman has its own set of markers. And I don't know how many there are. I still haven't found them all, but I have found more. There's at least 26. That's the highest number that I've found. So this right here would be the site of the temple, where the temple was going to be built. And according to what we're reading right now, where a temple will be built in the future. And that's one of the debates, that whether there's going to be a temple built at Adam-ondi-Ahman. Yes, the First Presidency just said so. Independence, Far West, Adam-ondi-Ahman, and we'll get to the next location. But you might want to check out these 2 most recent videos that I've done at Adam-ondi-Ahman, because I am hunting these markers down, and I guarantee virtually nobody comes this far. It's a long walk. It's a lot of hiking, and just a lot of people don't know. I have my map. The link is in the description box below of all my Christian Homestead videos going forward. I also have a spreadsheet if you want to see it that way. All these rows right here that you're looking at, all of these are all Adam-ondi-Ahman. All of them. Most people, and I don't mean to be a broken record, they'll know that they can either go, like once you go in the entrance, you can either go to the Valley Overlook or you can go to Tower Hill. You pass a sign up here for Spring Hill Summit. But when they come to Tower Hill, they'll park over here and just kind of walk down this trail down to Preacher's Rock and think that that's it. So they'll see these 3 things right here. not knowing that there's all this up here to see, including one of the most important sites, the site of the temple. This is where the city was actually going to be, well, where it started to be built. So one of the most important locations on Spring Hill. And so I've been able to correct some of these place markers on my map, and I've added some new ones. So if you're interested in that, make sure to watch these videos. It's on my channel called Explore Church Sites. Okay, so Independence, Far West, Adam-ondi-Ahman, and the fourth location being approximately on the border of Caldwell and Davies counties, in a direct line between Adam-ondi-Ahman and Far West, where the prophet had dedicated the land to be a city of the Zion of God. That's the city of Seth. He's talking about the city of Seth because that's where it's at. So this is really exciting because now there shouldn't be any question. And of course, there's still going to be debate. But I took a video approximately where it was. I went based off of the directions given in a book called Sacred Places, Missouri by Lamar C. Barrett. And he described this highway and said to go, X number of miles from the county line to here. And it's at about this intersection. And so if you want to see this video and see what it looks like, I'll put the link for this in the description box as well. Okay, so I want to talk about the city of Seth and give you an update on everything that I have so far. And then I've created a new row for Adam-ondi-Ahman temple. Before I had my temple, I had like one or two temple quotes, excuse me, mixed in with the altars, but these are two different topics. So I want to show you what I have for the Adam-ondi-Ahman temple. I have several different quotes. Okay, so starting with the city of Seth. This is the first thing that I came across. I'm not going to read this whole thing, just basically the first and last paragraph. This is in History of the Church. It's also on the Joe Smith Papers, where you find the primary source. Saturday, September 1st, 1838. The first presidency with Judge Higbee, a surveyor, started this morning for the halfway house, as it is called, kept by Brother Littlefield. By the way, the Joe Smith Papers have the GPS coordinates for this halfway house, and it doesn't seem like it's accessible. I tried to go to it, but it looks like it's on private property. And I thought that there might be like a Far West stake marker, because they've made all these like markers for different places, but I don't think that there's one. If you know of anything to see related to this halfway house, please let me know. Okay, some 14 or 15 miles from Far West, directly north, for the purpose of appointing a city of Zion for the gathering of the saints in that place, for safety and from the storm which will soon come upon this generation, in that the brethren may be together, and that they may receive instructions to prepare them for the great day which will come upon this generation as a thief in the night. Okay, and then skipping down to the last paragraph. But to return again to our subject, we found the place for the city, and the brethren were instructed to gather immediately into it. And soon they should be organized according to the laws of God. A more particular history of the city may be expected hereafter, perhaps at its organization and dedication. Well, unfortunately, just a couple months after this is when the extermination order was signed, and so they didn't get a chance to build the city. I don't think that anything was built whatsoever. So you just have the site that's been identified by Joseph Smith. Now, how do we know that it's the city of Seth? As far as I know, this is the only source, but it's been backed up by other scholars and people. This is Albert Perry Rockwood of the Presidency of the 70. It's a letter from him to Sister Vos, 15th of October, 1838, Monday. The brethren have all returned from DeWitt. And by the way, I have a video of DeWitt. There's a marker there to see. The mob is now assembling again in Davies County. They have sworn in their wrath that every Mormon shall leave the county. Adam-ondi-Ahman and Seth are one stake of Zion, and will not be so easily surrendered. Seth is 12 miles from this place. And then I'm just going to stop right there, but you can pause and read the rest of it if you'd like. The misspellings and grammar, this is exactly how it was written. I never alter that when I transcribe things. But here's the source down here. This comes from BYU Studies, volume 28, page 22. The Last Months of Mormonism in Missouri. Okay, and then we have what I just read about these four. They're all cities of Zion. It's just that the city of Seth was never actually built, but you did have Independence, which was an actual city where the saints lived. You had Far West. You also had Adam-ondi-Ahman. So you have the city of Seth, which according to this, it seems like it's still supposed to become a city in the future with a temple for all these places. This is not like, for example, DeWitt. DeWitt was a place where the saints were going to settle, but it wasn't, to my knowledge, it was not specifically designated by Joseph Smith, nor was it given a special name like Seth. And the proximity of Seth to Adam-ondi-Ahman, where Adam and Eve dwelt after being cast out of Jackson County, which is where the Garden of Eden was, Seth is between the home of Adam and Eve in Adam-ondi-Ahman and Far West. Far West was identified as the place where Cain killed Abel. So these early patriarchs lived in this area. I can only assume that it was named Seth because maybe Seth was born there. Maybe he received the priesthood there. Maybe that's where he dwelt after he left home. Like he decided to live close by. I don't know. But the thing is that it seems to me that whenever the Lord designates a place for a temple, a city, it's not just abandoned. It may be temporarily abandoned, but one of the overarching themes of this life and these 7,000 years from beginning to end is that by the end, God triumphs over wickedness. So the wicked may, win some battles temporarily, but they don't win the war. And so, anyway, you get the idea that these places, these waste places, I think that they're all going to be restored. And it seems like that's what the first presidency believes as well. And then, let's see. Yeah, and then we have this most recent quote that I just read to you from the David O. McKay diaries. Oh, no, and then one last thing. This is how I first heard about it. This is Church News. We're going to go to the actual article. So, Church News, this week in church history, this was published in 2003, and then 25 years ago from 2003, it says, President Spencer W. Kimball accompanied his wife Camilla, returned to the sites of many historic events in early church history with a visit to Missouri, September 1st through the 3rd, according to the September 9th, 1978 Church News. The article reported, quote, with pages of history linking the past to the present, President and Sister Kimball and their party visited the temple site in Far West Missouri, the hills and valleys of Adam-ondi-Ahman, the temple block in Independence, Missouri, and the jail in Liberty. An added bonus was visiting the area believed to have been the location of the city of Seth, designated by the prophet Joseph Smith as a place of refuge for the saints, end quote. Now, note, it doesn't say that he went to DeWitt. He didn't go to Tinney Grove. He didn't go to the site of the Battle of Crooked River. He didn't go to other places where the saints settled. Like, he went to these four locations: Independence, Far West, Adam-ondi-Ahman, and the city of Seth. That's how important that location is. And it's crazy because you go over there right now, there's nothing over there, but I think that it has a really big future for us to look forward to. Okay, and then lastly, we have this new row for the Temple of Adam-ondi-Ahman. So the first time that I know of that we hear about this is in Life of Heber C. Kimball, pages 221 to 222. Up here, it just talks about there was mobbing and stuff in Gallatin, which is nearby Adam-ondi-Ahman. And then it says, while there at Adam-ondi-Ahman, we laid out a city on a high elevated piece of land and set the stakes for the four corners of a temple block. Not a city block, not just a public square, not a secular block, a temple block, which was dedicated. Brother Brigham Young, of all people, being mouth. There were from 300 to 500 men present on the occasion, under arms. This elevated spot was probably from 250 to 500 feet above the level of Grand River, so that one could look east, west, north, or south as far as the eye could reach. It was one of the most beautiful places I ever beheld. The prophet Joseph called upon Brother Brigham, myself, and others, saying, "Brethren, come go along with me, and I will show you something." He led us a short distance to a place where the ruins of 3 altars built of stone, one above the other, and one standing a little back of the other, like unto the pulpits of the Kirtland Temple, representing the order of 3 grades of priesthood. There, said Joseph, is the place where Adam offered up sacrifice after he was cast out of the garden. The altar stood at the highest point of the bluff. I went and examined the place several times while I remained there. So it makes sense that this temple site, it wasn't like a structure, it doesn't seem, at the time of Adam-ondi-Ahman. It was just like a Stone Age altar. But you have this ancient altar, which is in essence a temple space. You could say that all of Adam-ondi-Ahman is a temple space. But it would make sense that sometime in the future, there would be a temple there, and there was indeed the square, like the central square, the public square, the temple block, where the temple would have been, which essentially would have been in that place. And it's right here. Let me click on the thing. I'm adding pictures as I go, so when you click on this, it'll show you what you can expect to see. But right here, and then you see all these structures that were around this. This is clearly the central point. And the altar would have been there. You have 2 altars. I'm not going to go into this too much in this video, but you had the altar of prayer over here on Tower Hill, approximately in this location, which was made up of many stones, and it was built up like a tower. That's why it's called Tower Hill. But then you had the 3 altars over here on Spring Hill, in this location somewhere. That was Adam's altar of sacrifice. I don't know what happened to those stones. Maybe they were buried. Maybe the church moved them somewhere else to a secure location. Those are really, really valuable artifacts, so I'm sure they're in a safe place. Okay, so you have that from Heber C. Kimball. We have this. This is also from the David O. McKay diaries. Let's see. I don't have the exact date. That's probably because it wasn't on there. I don't know. I might have to update this. But anyway, I'm not going to read the whole thing, but it talks about President David O. McKay's visit to Adam-ondi-Ahman. They went to Tower Hill. The party stopped here, and President McKay, President Smith, and the rest of us got out of the cars and stood close to the spot of the ruins of the old Nephite and Adamic altar of prayer. So the altar on Tower Hill. The prophet Joe Smith and Elder Dyer Elder Dyer narrated some of the events of historic significance that transpired at this place, which concerned the many visits of the prophet Joe Smith and of his designating the altars and how they were used by the ancients. And then, so that was Tower Hill. And then it says, Elder Dyer identified the 2 pieces of property totaling 140 acres that options to buy had been obtained from dustmen by the church. The one piece contained the bluff area of Spring Hill, where once many of the homes of Adam-ondi-Ahman were erected. So these are all the markers right here. You have like the cabin site of John Smith, which I just learned was the uncle of Joe Smith. He was the stake president of Adam-ondi-Ahman. And you have other things, public building, blacksmith shop, McGee's tailor shop, so on and so forth. Okay, so where once many of the homes at Adam-ondi-Ahman were erected, including also the ruins of the storehouse located in the center block in this old city, together with the temple site. The temple site and the altar site where sacrifice was offered by Adam. So that may be why they don't have this labeled as temple site, because a religious site would encompass both. It would encompass both a temple and an altar. If you said temple, then it might obscure the fact that the altar was in this area. I'm not sure. And I don't know that, because like the thing is that you have more of like a general audience or visitors that come to this place, that we're talking about some pretty deep doctrine and things that have to do with the future. And I think that the church usually likes to keep things more surface level. And if you want to dig deeper, then that's what things like YouTube channels like mine are for, and people that write books and scholars that do research, right? So anyway, together with the temple site and the altar site where sacrifice was offered by Adam. Later on, let's see, the high point of Spring Hill was pointed out to the president. It is upon this high part of the bluff where the temple site was dedicated, and near to this is the site of the altar of Adam. So, and then my most recent quote is the one that we started out with, where it talks about the 4 locations. I can't tell you how gratifying this is, living here in Independence, Missouri, and being able to, like, on my own, go and find these places and see it for myself. Because when I was younger, I was very interested in Adam-ondi-Ahman. I think everybody that takes the gospel seriously and prophecies and the second coming, of course you're going to be interested in Adam-ondi-Ahman. But I did not have a clear picture of really what it was, or what it looked like, or the main areas. And when I would hear Tower Hill and Spring Hill, it got confusing. But now I have actually like mapped these out for myself. Well, and for others. I hope you use this resource the next time you come here and you go and see these places. It's incredible. And you can feel the spirit, and you get a much better sense of the lay of the land. So you have Adam-ondi-Ahman right here. You have this approximate location for the city of Seth, which is basically near Kidder, Missouri. Far west is down here. Again, this is the site where... Oh, wait, sorry, that's Kingston. I'm sorry. Far west is over here. The site where Cain killed Abel, and the Lord identified this area as a holy and consecrated land. And then further down here, the Garden of Eden, currently Independence, Missouri, with the temple lot. And similarly, you also have all these places to see over here where people lived and where they had shops and stores and all sorts of stuff. It's so cool to sort these things out in my mind and find these primary sources. A lot of people don't do that, and I don't blame you, because it's hard. But you have to like search and search and search, and then you find those sources. Then you know, yes, of course there's going to be a temple at Adam-ondi-Ahman. Yes, there is going to be a city of Seth and a temple. Otherwise, the church wouldn't care to purchase that land or try to purchase it or focus on it. They wouldn't talk about it. They would just leave it in the past where it belongs. But that's not where it belongs. So I can tell you that exciting things are happening right now in Missouri. There's been so much going on, but I'm gonna end it here though. So I hope you enjoyed this video. I'll talk to you guys next time.